All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2022 Mid-Coast Officials Association Inaugural Hall of Fame Class Celebration. So let's give a round of applause there. It is so good to see all of you tonight. Normally, it's on my text messages after our broadcast. Alan, what are you talking about? We got that call right. But I do want to take the opportunity here to thank the MCOA for having myself and, of course, Brevard Sports Network here along for an event that's been years in the making and well-deserved. Not just for the 5 inductees here tonight, but for all of you that are here to celebrate. You know, the children and spouses. You know, I was talking about a coach's wife. What about a referee's wife or a referee's child as well? There are a lot of sacrifices that are made there as well. I would also like to thank MCOA President Steve Muzzy. Thank you, Steve. Vice President Greg England, Treasurer and inductee Mr. Mike Pressman, Secretary Norm Jigger, and Arbiter Charlie Westerfield for all of his. Charlie has been hard at it. So how about a round of applause for this event and what went in to making this happen. These slides you're going to see tonight are unbelievable. Tonight, the room is filled with men and women that have given their lives to what many would call, actually all would call, one of the most thankless and underappreciated jobs on the planet. You will hear about 5 men tonight who gave years of service to not just one sport, but to many sports, a lot of sports, while also helping to build one of the classiest, most reputable, and top-notch officials associations anywhere. Since 1968, 54 years, the MCOA has been at the forefront of sports officiating. And I think that in and of itself is worth another round of applause, please. I can only imagine the stories you could tell, the things you've heard, the things you've seen, the changes that have been made along the way. It fascinates me. I would love to personally sit down and interview everyone in this room. Officials and umpires are involved with guiding the game, and enforcing the rule structure that forms the framework of competition. Think about that for a minute. Officials are the key to competition that is fair and conducted according to the code of conduct and rules governed by an organization. And that's the official part of it. But this role is often extremely taxing, very difficult, and it is performed by you, people who take the time to become certified, often and on 99% of the time, in addition to your day job and in sacrifice of your time with the family. Quite honestly, it's a job that serves and gives back. The role of the official and referee is often understudied and underappreciated. Your role, however, is perhaps the most important part of what happens on any field, court, or gridiron in the country. Without you, there simply are no sports worth watching. And as a guy that lives and breathes youth and high school sports just like you do, let me say that on behalf of Brevard County, thank you, all of you, for all that you do. Everything that happens on Friday nights and every day in high schools across the county, state, and country are because of you. So thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause. You, the official, referee, and umpire, not only do a great job protecting our student athletes and seeing that the games are played fairly, but you are the true reason that we are able to play any of these sports at all. So thank you very much. And thank you once again for having me here tonight. And it's going to be a terrific night. And here to really kick things off, let me introduce the president of the MCOA, a 33-year member of the MCOA, President Steve Muzzy.
All right, thank you very much, Alan, and I just wanted to say a few things. First, some thank yous. Beth Scarborough for Cocoa Elks. Thank you, Beth. I don't know where Beth is, but she's been a lifesaver. I happened to see old friend of mine, Dave Mcginnis. We've been trying to do this for quite a long time, and we operate on a bit of a shoestring budget. So when my brother and I were playing golf, Dave lives on the 10th hole, and we went and picked him up. Of course, I went to try to get some adult beverages from him, and he said, "Well, yeah, it was kind of the 19th hole early."
We got more than one hole.
Okay. And that's true to form. Bob Walton, man, he's always busting my chops all the time. We love Bob, so we appreciate it. But Dave, thank you. There's a couple people, Beth, Dave Mcginnis, helping us get here. Thank you for everything, Dave. Dave's done a lot behind the scenes. He's the reason I started in 1985, okay? And for him to be in this inaugural Hall of Fame class really means a lot. Also want to thank Roy Holbeck, who really made this event happen. Thank you so much, Roy. It's great to see. I think we have a very strong football group here. We've got baseball, and we have some basketball represented. We're going to have more, but thank you, Roy, for all that you've done to make this a reality. Calvin Wright, this is he was unable to make it today, but Calvin, this is a vision of his, and we've been able to make this happen. As Alan said, we started in 1968. Now, I do want to know how long we've been sanctioned by the FHSAA. I don't know if it's the same, because I think I actually had an email from your dad, and he was explaining some stuff to me. He actually started in 1958, and they got this Brevard Officials Association. But 55 years is amazing. But there's one gentleman who really, I've got to signal out. Charlie Westerfield back there.
Yeah.
Charlie. So this is something we all wanted to do. We operate off a shoestring budget. Dave kind of helped us out a little bit, and I'm thinking, well, we'll take some time to plan this. We'll do this in the spring. And Charlie's like, what are we waiting for? Let's do it in August, okay? Because and so Charlie, he's been amazing behind the scenes. It takes people like Charlie for these things to happen, And just want to thank everybody. Charlie, really wanted to call you out. You've mentioned some of our sports commissioners who are here. Who are also on our executive council. Let's see, C.W. Bailey from wrestling. He's here, thank you. We've already talked about Norm Chiger, secretary. Greg England, he's the vice president. He's not here, but Mike Pressman, one of our honorees tonight, one of our inductees. He's our treasurer, and the guy just does amazing work, such an amazing advocate for the MCOA. Thank you for that. Alan, you really touched on it, but before, hopefully this is going to be an annual event. And the men that are selected this year, we hope will be, here next year. We're gonna try to get this better and better. We're looking at the May-June time frame, so it doesn't butt up so close to football season. So that's been. We really appreciate the football guys, but they're just into it right now. And so we wanted to do it during that time. Let's see. Real quick, there's a couple things I wanted to mention too. You talked about we always talk about coaches and the commitment that they make, their families make. It's so great to see families here today, because we know that you as families have sacrificed a lot for the officials who've had to go out 3, 5, many days every week for many years. And so it's just such a thankless job. But I think we do this, certainly not for the money. It doesn't cover our expenses, our medical bills, maybe some post-game fun with the crews. But we do this for the love of the game and the love of the sport. And it's just great. And we're so thankful to have Bonita, Holland here today. The players and the coaches, the players and the parents, we kind of see through them. We cycle through them. We see where we've done we've done kids, and then we see their kids. But the coaches and the ADs and the officials, we build this camaraderie and spirit, and it's just amazing. So thank you for that. This class is the best of the best. I mean, we can't say enough. The best of the best. I saw Mike Gaudy say that on Facebook, and he just said, I just couldn't say more than that. Alan Zlotarinsky, we researched, how other associations do this, and one thing we can say is no association has been able to broadcast it and have a professional delivery like you guys. So we really thank Brevard Sports Network. Your all's passion for high school sports, for the kids, you wrote a great intro. You said it. Thank you. So thank you all again, and we just look forward to it. We're so humbled that you guys are here. The last thing I'll say, Charlie and I, we talked about if we could just get everybody together and we're having some stories, sharing some memories, it'll be a success. We want to hear how we can do better going forward. I'll say one thing I heard, some chatter that made me think, hey, this is successful. I think I heard Pressman, McGinness, and Walton over here, and they were talking about some games that they've done and times that they've had. And that's what this is all about, That's what this is all about. So thank you. Alan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Tonight, I actually get I live out, like, it's an honor for me tonight when we get to our guest speaker. I don't know, back in 2017, I think it was, this is the second time that myself and Bob Walton have gone through this process. Bob, back in 2017, I was blessed and fortunate to really have a very good conversation with Bob when he went into the Space Coast Sports Hall of Fame, was blessed to write his bio, and so I really, I just felt that was really neat to be able to do this for a second time, Bob, so definitely congratulations. And I'm really honored here tonight because our guest speaker, one of the things, I'm not from Brevard County. I've been here about 13 years, but we definitely do our research. That's one thing I think that people respect about what we do. And when you talk to people about sports in Brevard County, you can't write the history of it without our guest speaker. You certainly cannot write the history of Rockledge High School without our guest speaker. Tonight, I actually had an opportunity to meet our guest speaker in person for the first time, and it was quite an honor. I always say on our broadcast when she pops in, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of the best, if not the best, athletic director to ever step onto a Brevard County court or gym. Miss Bonita Holland served on the Florida Athletic Coaches Association Board of Directors. She was the Rockledge High School Athletic Director from 1985 until 2015. She actually has something in common with one of our Brevard Sports Network employees. Caleb's 25 years old, and they both retired from education in 2015. So, Caleb, I'm just ribbing you, buddy. And of course, well-deserved, Miss Bonita was inducted into the Space Coast Sports Hall of Fame the same year of her retirement. From being the youngest head scorekeeper for Cocoa Little League when she was a little girl, to starting her career as a social studies teacher in 1979 for Brevard Public Schools, to her retirement as the best athletic director Brevard County has ever seen. Once again, you cannot write the history of Brevard County sports, Rockledge High School, without our guest speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Bonita Holland.
Thank you for those kind words, Alan. I greatly appreciate it. Let me begin this evening by sincerely congratulating all 5 inductees in this inaugural 2022 class of the Mid-Coast Officials Association's Hall of Fame. When Roy Holbeck contacted me and asked me if I would say a few words, my first question was who was being honored. Honestly, I wanted to make sure I could put a face to each of the recipients so as not to embarrass myself. But as he went down through the distinguished list, I was thankful that I, in fact, could picture all 5 of them in my mind's eye. All I can say to the selection committee is bravo. You did an outstanding job for selecting your first class. Within 2 weeks of being hired as a teacher at Rockledge High School in September of 1979, I was told that I was going to be the varsity softball coach. And that was a position that I proudly held for 12 years. In the spring of 1980, when it was probably the first time that I met Jim Thompson, and I'm guessing that it probably was at Vero Beach High School because I believe that's where Jim was originally living back in that era. So that was the first time that I'd ever seen him. And my thought at the time was, wow, he's really tall. How's he going to get down low enough to be able to call balls and strikes? He did. And it didn't take me long to gain great respect for Jim as an umpire. In those early years, even before I became the AD in '85, I quickly realized he was a jack of all trades and was an excellent official in most of the team sports. I'd see him at the football and volleyball games in the fall, basketball games in the winter, and softball and baseball in the spring. I loved the way that he interacted with the various athletes in between innings, quarters, etc. It was obvious he enjoyed being a high school official. Hats off to Jim Thompson, one of the founders of the MCOA. You did well. The next official being inducted tonight was also someone who officiated softball when I was coaching. Dave Mcginnis was another official that went from volleyball and football in the fall to basketball in the winter and then softball and baseball in the spring. I have to tell you that one of the things I prided myself in as a high school coach and athletic director is that I was never ejected from a ball game. However, I do remember there was one particular home game out at Rockledge Park softball field when Dave was the plate umpire, and I was chirping a little bit about his calling of balls and strikes from the third base coaching box. Being the outstanding umpire he was, he let it go for a couple of innings, but at some point, he pointed to me standing in the coach's box and said, "Coach, if I hear another word from you, you're going to be gone." I don't think I said another word until the game was over. Thanks, Dave, and congratulations on this well-deserved honor. What can I say about Fred Reese? What an outstanding individual to be recognized tonight in the MCOA's inaugural class. You must remember, when I was a kid growing up here in Cocoa, I never had been exposed to the sport of soccer. I didn't have a clue what I was watching the first few times I went to watch the Rockledge High boys soccer team play, and at that time, there was only a boys soccer team. There was no girls yet. Fred, it took me a long time to understand what offsides is in soccer. To me, if you could get out ahead of everybody, that was what you should do, and you should be able to score. I didn't see what the problem was. But over time and exposure, I learned the basic rules of the game and grew to appreciate this worldwide sport. After I became an AD, I also quickly realized that there seemed to be more ejections in the sport of soccer than in most of the other team sports put together. I wish I had $1 for every minute I spent on the phone with Fred as the MCOA soccer commissioner going over what had happened the previous evening and how the soccer official had written the report to the FHSAA. All I can say is that I knew that when I talked to Fred that I would get detailed info from the officials' take on the issue. As I look back, I think a lot of my gray hair came from the sport of soccer. Thanks, Fred, for your help in those difficult situations, and congratulations on all that you're doing. My first recollection of seeing Bob Walton as an MCOA official was in the sport of volleyball and softball. I was always impressed with how earnest he was in communicating with the high school athletes, explaining his calls. I always felt that he truly called them as he saw them, which is all that any athlete, coach, or spectator can truly ask for. He, too, also expanded the sports he officiated, working year-round in the fall, winter, and spring. If I ever had to call him about any sort of issue as the baseball commissioner, he was always quick to return my phone call to walk me through the situation to help me determine how we were going to handle the athlete, coach, or spectators appropriately. Last night, I went to the ROCKLEDGE High versus Treasure Coast preseason kickoff classic. And who did I see wearing the white hat? Bob Walton. Thanks, Bob, for your continued service to the student athletes and coaches in Brevard County. When Roy mentioned Mike Pressman's name to me the other night, I remembered him as Money Man for the MCOA. He was their treasurer for many years, as well as being a football official. Most of my interactions with Mike was via email and a few occasional phone calls. I always found him to be very professional and was amazed at how he could keep up with the proper billing for all the various sports, working with the various sports commissioners. There is honestly no telling how many hours he put in getting that done day in and day out over the many years he served in that very important role. Great job, Mike. On behalf of all the schools who are serviced by the Mid-Coast Officials Association, I want to offer each and every one of you a sincere thank you. In my 36-year career as a coach and AD, I understood how important the role each of you played in the success of high school athletics in Brevard County. I had a bird's eye view of the dedication you and your colleagues displayed in the fall, winter, and spring from school year to school year. I also know how difficult it is to find others in our community to come join you to become high school sports officials. It certainly is not an easy job, and we are very fortunate to have the high caliber of personnel who make up the MCOA here in Brevard County. In closing, what a great tradition you are beginning here tonight, and I am honored to have played a small role in praising the first members of the MCOA Hall of Fame. Thank you.
You can speak now, Bonita.
I still don't know what offsides in soccer is. I just assume it's shot and a goal. No, wait, what happened? All right, it's time for our inductees. Our first inductee tonight is Mr. Michael Pressman. I'm just going to go through how this will work. Is I'm going to go through the inductees' bio, and then they'll have a presenter. Michael Pressman, football from 1977 until present. Volleyball from 1994 until 1997. Michael has officiated football for the past 45 years and volleyball for 3 years. Michael was the past president, vice president, and secretary of the Mid-Coast Officials. The Mid-Coast Officials Association. He is currently the treasurer and served in this position for the past 22 years. He has served as the football co-assigner and secretary for several years in the early 1990s. He has worked 6 state finals and 17 state semifinals. It was on a football playoff crew for 28 consecutive years and 12 other years, and only missed the 1987 season while serving in the United States Air Force in Belgium. He was recognized as a rank 5 official the first time he was eligible and maintained that rank until the ranking system was changed. Then he was a rank 1 until he retired from the field in 2016. He has served as the football rules interpreter for many years and has taught football rules and field classes. He is not only a leader in the MCOA, but also the FHSAA. He was elected to the FHSAA Football Officials Advisory Committee twice. He served on the FHSAA football rules team and helped write the FHSAA football test. He has been an instructor at several FHSAA field clinics and current evaluator for the FHSAA in football. Mr. Pressman was always recruiting officials for the MCOA. He has been a mentor to many officials, some of which have gone on to become NCAA officials. Here to present Michael Pressman for the 2022 Hall of Fame class for the MCOA is Mr. Dwayne Summers.
Well, thank you, Larry. It's such an honor.
It's close.
That's a first.
Right? I'll take it.
It's an honor and a privilege to present Mike. I've known him for 35 years. I've probably been in the MCOA close to 30 years. I dealt with him when he was in the Air Force before that. He used to get some coins for all the shuttle missions that the secret stuff used to do. Just an excellent gentleman, excellent gentleman. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for him because he's the one that got me into high school football. From the moment I met him until today, Mike he kind of reminds me of my preacher, because my preacher always says, get in the book. It's the good book, right? Mike's always, get in the book. It's the rules book. He knows more about rules than anybody I've ever known. Mr. Thompson was probably one of the original gurus, and I always said, Mr. T's probably forgot more than I'll ever know. Mr. Pressman will never forget anything because he is the rules guru. I was the commissioner for 13 years. Mike was our rules interpreter and expert from the whole time I was in as the commissioner, and also Steve O'Neill before me, and he's probably helped you too, anyway. I don't know. If you got any questions, you just call Mike. And I can remember the first couple of years I got in there in the MCOA and working football, and Mike would call me. Sometimes it worked. And he would come up with this weird play. What you got? I'm like, good golly, Mike, it work? And he's like, just when you think about it, get back to me and let me know what your answer is. And he would always just like a rules expert, you know. You just can't beat him for rules knowledge, that's for sure. One good story that I can remember was his last playoff game, and Mike's always been like an excellent mentor to all these people that you probably wouldn't even realize. One of the guys is in the ACC right now, John Hoffman, and I know he mentored him, and we both had the honor of working with chains at his last playoff championship game. And it was, I think it was probably during the, second quarter or something. But there was a play that required a great knowledge of the rules. And it literally, Mike nailed it. It cost the guys probably the touchdown from the team that they scored. And the announcer, because me and John could hear it on the TV, just slammed him up one side and down the other. And me and John looked at each other and went, he was right. Okay, about the fourth quarter came around, and you hear this guy. Now, this is an announcer for TV, and he come on there and he goes, I just got to tell you, Mr. Pressman was correct on his ruling, and he did it right. How often do you hear that, right? So, I was going to do a lot of bio stuff, and he did a great job, but I just got to say, Mike, you're probably one of the finest individuals, and certainly as a football official, you're up here, you know. We all aspire to get where he is. And, you know, he actually also evaluates crews, but he evaluates NCAA crews. I don't know if y'all knew that. He used to travel around a lot and just evaluate the crews for college too. I mean, that's how well respected this man is. So, Mike Pressman, God bless you, sir. Congratulations. You deserve every second.
I'm not good at public speaking, but I'm going to give my best. I'd rather be out on the football field. It's an honor and a privilege to be selected for the first Hall of Fame class for the Mid-Coast Officials Association. Thanks to all our officers, our commissioners, and my fellow officials of the MCOA for my selection. I'm humbled to be considered for this honor by so many, because there are so many outstanding officials that are members of the MCOA and also who have now retired from being in the MCOA. I'd like to, I would attempt to name them, but there are so many that I don't want to inadvertently, leave anyone out. My fellow officials being inducted tonight have been a big influence on my officiating career. I've officiated many, many games with Dave and Bob in football, and I've loved every minute of it. I've had some wonderful experiences and met some of the greatest members of our community for the last 45 years in Brevard County. I'm sure our field clinics and football trips that we have taken bring back some very, very fond memories over the years. And I especially like to mention about for Dave and Bob, my fellow inductees, when we went to Boston one time. And I'm sure they'll remember that.
Easy.
I'm sure they'll remember exactly what happened. I want to thank you and congratulations to the other officials that are being presented with this honor tonight. And thanks to everybody for showing up. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I think we lost the slide there.
So there is picture.
Oh, okay.
Talk about your picture.
I got you. Okay.
Who's that guy? Two old guys.
What? One more round of applause, please, for Mr. Pressman. Our next inductee, sports include football, basketball, baseball. Early years included volleyball, slow pitch softball. 35 years of service. Secretary of the MCOA for 1 year. Baseball commissioner for 7 years. In baseball, he was named the NFHS, Florida Baseball Association Baseball Official of the Year in 1997. The NFHS Section 3 Distinguished Active Official Award in 2000. Inducted into the Space Coast Sports Hall of Fame in 2017. And he served on multiple state championship crews. Ladies and gentlemen, here to present Bob Walton for induction into the MCOA, please welcome Football Commissioner Roy Holbeck.
Oh boy, are you excited. Oh goodness. Bobby. So Bob called me the other day and says, "Hey, would you mind inducting me?" And I said, "Nope, I wouldn't mind at all. I love the idea. Gives me a chance to tell everybody all the stories." And I said, "Oh wait, Glenda's gonna be there." I said, "Nope, never mind. We ain't gonna tell none of the stories." Bob has been a friend. He has been a mentor. He's been a brother to me over the last, 25 years, something like that. So when it came time to nominating people to get into the first class of the Hall of Fame for MCOA, of course, Bob came to mind immediately. Like I said, there's plenty of stories I could tell, but Glenda's here, so I won't tell them. And if she wants to hear them later, without Bob around, I might tell her. It's been a pleasure. That's, by the way, the picture they're showing up there. I think that's the one. Yeah, I was a lot skinnier back then. That was a lot of years ago. But we've been together for a long time, Bob, and I couldn't be happier for you. Congratulations on your induction to the Hall of Fame.
Well, I don't know what to say here, but I am truly humbled to be able to go into the class of the group of guys here today who I look up to. quite frankly. I was very fortunate when I started officiating because when I started, we had a really good crew of officials, that didn't mind taking you under their wing and telling them what to do and how to do things the right way. So, you know, some of those guys, Dave Mcginnis and Steve O'Neill and Jim Thompson, those of you who never had the opportunity to know Jim and really get to know him, you really missed out on something. Because Jim was just a special man. They broke the mold with Jim Thompson. I remember one time when I first started working, Laura probably laughed because she probably already knew this, but I just started refereeing football. And I worked a game with Jim Thompson, Terry Astrack, and Jim Jenkins. Okay? So, you know, I wanted to do the best job I could. I thought I did pretty good. So the game's over, and we're kind of just standing milling around in the parking lot. And I said, Jim, I says, how do you think I did tonight? Jim looked down, had his little card with him, he was writing something down. He looked up in his little Georgia twang. He said, if I were you, I'd quit. I'm standing there. I looked over at Terry Astrack, and Terry just busted out laughing. I knew Jim was good. But that was Jim. Jim would do anything for you if you were an official. And it was my honor to know Jim and be able for him to call a friend. But again, I thank you for this honor. It's truly a great time. Thank you.
No, I'm going right. This is exactly where I'm going. All right, our next inductee is Fred Reese. Now, I'm a little slow sometimes, so Charlie, can you help tell the room, and I'm sure they know, it's probably just for my benefit only, what that board represents right there?
So Fred has put up all his patches over the years from his soccer career. You see there all the FHSAA, some of the new, some of the older, and then also some of the club soccer badges as well. But that represents 35, 40 years of a soccer career and a well-deserved induction tonight.
Fred Reese has been an MCOA member for 38 years. Sports, boys soccer, girls lacrosse, 28 years as MCOA soccer commissioner, and 2 years as MCOA president. Due to Fred's leadership, MCOA and Brevard have the reputation as having some of the best soccer referees in the state. The MCOA has received many state playoff assignments to regionals and the state final series during Fred's tenure. Fred always emphasized training with field clinics. He was always fair, respected, and well-liked in the soccer referee community. Fred was the FHSAA Soccer State High School Referee of the Year on multiple occasions, and Fred also refereed club games and received the distinction of earning a state-level badge. Ladies and gentlemen, here to present Fred Reese for induction into the 2022 Mid-Coast Officials Association Sports Hall of Fame, Al Zabe.
I've known Fred Reese for over 30 years. Did a lot of soccer games with him and was benefited by his training. One of his goals, like was pointed out, is to produce quality referees for the MCOA. And by all means, he did that by his teams being selected to go to state finals. I remember that when I first was thinking about joining the MCOA, I was district referee administrator in the state of Florida, and I was an instructor, lead instructor, and state assessor, and I didn't have any time. But I always got words from Fred. He says, well, you gotta come out. You gotta help us in the MCOA. You gotta come out here and help these kids. And so when I finally gave up my jobs as a district referee administrator, I went and saw Fred, and he had a class, I remember, over Jim and I, and got me all trained up, and became an official for the MCOA. One of the things he used to do is he used to call his officials, like he'd have games that needed to be covered, and he used to, if I wasn't home, he would call my wife. After doing that for quite a while, he started to call her Madam Secretary, because she used to handle all of the passing on all of the information to me so that I could go out and officiate games. One thing about Fred, he was always fair, he was always honest, his integrity level was very high, and I'm very appreciative to have known Fred, and I consider him one of my better friends. Thank you, Fred.
Wow. Thank you, Al. I really appreciated that intro, and it's all true. But anyway, our association, if you understand the various associations, and there are many of them in the state, we are one of the few, the MCOA was one of the few that did all sports. And that really helped, didn't it, Bonita? Can you imagine being in a county where they had to deal with a different association for every sport, like 7 or 8, 9 of them? And Mid-Coast had done it the right way. And we had a lot of success with that operation, and the state liked dealing with us better too, than all the various associations. We tell you a little story. We really worked well with the ADs, and I prided myself on that, and also with the state. And the first year in our sport, where I think they did in all sports, but the runner-ups also got included with the playoffs. So they added exactly the same number of games for the first round, doubled what it used to be, because you not just had the district winner go to the first round of state playoffs, you had the runner-up go and play a district winner somewhere else. And it's a lot of games. And the first year they did that, we had 3 game assignments the first night, which was pretty good, you know, so it had to send out 3 crews. Well, after the crews got assigned and everything, how many of you remember Cecilia Jackson?
You don't forget.
Oh, wow.
Anyhow, Cecilia Jackson called me up and says, Fred, she says, I'm having problems finding enough officials. Can you cover 2 more games? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can round up 2 more crews. And I did so. So all of a sudden we're up to 5 games. 3 additional calls later, we had 11 games in the first round. She was getting callbacks from these associations that felt that they were too good. to do games in the first round. And there were so many games, and they handed her assignments back to her and everything. I sent out that first round 33 officials, 11 crews, over half of our membership at the time. And we didn't get a single negative response from any one of those 11 games. Our folks did a great job in that first round. And we were spread thin. And they came through. And I was real proud of that. I was really proud of that. And that's the kind of thing. And Cecilia paid us back. We got a lot of Final Fours. In fact, one year we did the Christian boys soccer tournament. We did the regular boys regular season tournament, and we did the girls regular season championship too. We did all three of the ones they had. We sent crews all for the finals. So we had a lot of success in that, and it really made a difference with our association. I'm really honored to be chosen to be in the first induction, and really proud of it, and I appreciate it. And unlike the other sports, the other four folks here being, selected and everything, I didn't work with a single one of them. They all worked together and everything, but they never learned offsides. They just couldn't understand that concept. I couldn't. Yeah. So anyway, but anyway, I'm real proud to be selected with all four of you, and Jim and Dave and Bob and Mike, and it really means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a great career, and yes, offsides. Whew. Our next inductee is Dave Mcginnis, and it's also Dave's birthday today, so quite a birthday. Yeah. We'll do a little celebrating on Dave's birthday a little bit later on, but Dave, sports, basketball, football, volleyball, softball, football official for 25 years, baseball official for 25 years, basketball official for 25 years, volleyball official for 10 years, softball for 10 years. It's amazing. Dave was commissioner of baseball for over 20 years of his service with the MCOA. In addition, Dave served the MCOA as commissioner for volleyball for most years of his service in that sport. Dave worked 15 state championship games in baseball, not to mention all of the playoff games leading up to the state championship. Dave also worked many football state playoff games to include the state championship in the sport. Dave was also a leader in every respect for the MCOA, well beyond his already impressive sport-related accomplishments. He served as president for the MCOA for multiple years. In addition, Dave served as the secretary of the MCOA as well. Dave was constantly advocating for the MCOA during his time and recruited numerous outstanding officials. Dave was the chairman of the MCOA almost annual golf tournament, which raised money for the schools and Dave St. John Scholarship Fund. Dave was also recognized by the NFIOA for his service at a Washington, D.C. ceremony in 1995. One of Dave's favorite memories was when he officiated a volleyball game with his daughter, Kelly. And here to present Dave for the 2022 Mid-Coast Officials Association Hall of Fame is his daughter. Please welcome Kelly Mcginnis Sharpless.
It is so nice to be here tonight. I am looking around this room and I honestly feel like I've been transformed back 20, 30 years. at least. I won't tell all of y'all how old I'm going to be soon because, well, I'll just leave it at that. If you noticed, whenever they were reading off all of the sports that my dad officiated, there was a sport on there that was missing. Or there was a sport that was missing, and that was soccer. So Mr. Reese and I could explain what offsides is because I played soccer for many years. And I told him, I'm like, if you want to come to more games, then, you know. And he's like, no, I draw the line at soccer. But he started refereeing volleyball because I was playing volleyball, and he's like, I can do that. And so guess what he did? He went and did that. I remember whenever I decided, well, he didn't decide for me, but my husband was out to sea, and I came home for a little while, and he's like, hey, you play volleyball? You can referee volleyball. And I'm like, oh, no, that's you know, that's your life. That's what you do. And he's like, I promise, it's easy. You can do it. And so I decided I would go ahead and try. And even though I played volleyball and he refereed and umpired volleyball, he scored higher on the volleyball test than I did, even though I played volleyball. So the really nice thing about doing volleyball with him is that he always had my back. I would never be the referee. I would only always be the umpire because, as you can probably tell, I'm a little nervous tonight. I was completely nervous to do that. I wanted to stay, you know, on the ground and let him do his thing, you know, up on the podium. And there was a game in Cocoa Beach one time that I was the umpire, and I blew my whistle. I knew I blew my whistle, but nobody else knew I blew the whistle. The girl had touched the net, and the play kept going, and I'm like, what is going on? I blew the whistle. And then he blew the whistle for something else that had happened, and then I'm like, Dad, I blew the whistle. The coach wasn't very happy about the situation. Thank goodness it was a JV game. Knowing that whenever you do play volleyball or any sport, you know, all the points matter. And, you know, to all the kids who were playing at the time, you know, it's very important. But I was very humbled in the situation. I bet you can guess how many seasons I lasted. Just one. But it's an experience that we will always have. Growing up, I was always at the baseball fields. I was always involved in being there, going to the fields, playing on all the clay mounds and just running around and, you know, having a great time. And I have a really good memory of my past of being really involved with sports from a young age. And my dad really instilled that love of sports, of playing the game, of watching the game, of being respectful of how the plays are called. He was doing a spring training game one time, and he was on the first base line, and I was like, Dad, you got that call wrong. Like, the guy was safe, and he's like, nope, he was out. So, you know, we don't call balls and strikes unless, you know, I guess we've been behind the plate or, you know, that we've been actually on the field to see it from their point of view. Just like you were saying, you know, about it's really, their job is so important because without them, you know, we wouldn't be able to play the game. So he has a lot of great stories, I can tell, you know, lots of great memories looking around the room. You know, I'm going back and, you know, just remembering all the fun that, you know, I had going to the field and watching him completely in his element, doing his thing that he loved for so many years. And so to be here tonight with him, you know, being inducted, I want him to come up and tell some of his favorite stories. I know that, you know, he could be up here all night telling lots and lots of stories. But Dad, Dave Mcginnis, come on up and enjoy the spotlight. Your turn.
Thanks, Lee.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I thought you didn't want to talk.
I did.
Boy, that was unbelievable, Kelly. Never forget it. I really want to thank you because I am really honored to. Everybody says that, but it's true. We're really honored to
be especially part of the first class of the MCOA Hall of Fame. Did a lot of games with Mike Pressman, Bob Walton. Fred never kicked a soccer ball in my life. And guess what? I'm 73 today, and guess what? I ain't gonna do it. Kelly, you can kick the soccer balls.
Don't lie about your age.
I want to go back a few years, and basically officiating was my life. I mean, I work a softball game in the afternoon, and at night I work a baseball game. And I had a great boss who, when I was doing BCC and FIT games or whatever, I say, "Hey bud, I got a game today." He says, "What time?" I said, 2 o'clock. "Oh, you better leave now so you don't miss it." Yep. My boss was Bud Muzzy. Dear Dad. So, Bob Walton and I, we had a lot of good times. And I wonder why Glenda doesn't know about it. So, Mike Pressman and I, we same thing. Mike and I used to go out to Notre Dame, once a year and go to a football game. And we'd travel to Chicago, whatever, get another football game. And we're over there. We scalped some tickets at Soldier Field, and Mike comes up and said, "I gotta go to the bathroom." I said, "Okay." So he goes back. I said, "Hey, guess what?" He says, "What?" I said, "I sold our tickets." "You sold our tickets?" I said, "Yeah." Guy offered me $350 for 2 tickets. He said, "Well, that's good." I says, so I turned around and I bought another 2 tickets that were better for $100. He said, "You did good." Joe Hutton was here earlier, and I think he had to go. He's been ill, and he's got 5 kids at home, so I'm surprised he's
sitting at the bar. Who's your kid?
Well, we got a couple stories about Joe.
Oh, we'd love to hear him.
I'll try to make them short and sweet. But Joe and I got along really well. I sort of took him under my arm. We did a lot of games together. He wanted to get into college baseball. Okay, so I was working Rollins and UCF and whatever, so I got him a tryout and everything. He did really good, and so I called him up and I said, "All right, you got a game with me Saturday, right?" He said, "Yeah, no problem." So Joe had a problem with the rule of a designated hitter and a batter being a pitcher being in the same spot. So all the way over to UCF, he's saying, "Oh, I hope they don't have a PDH. I hope they don't have a PDH." I said, "If they do, it's no big deal. No big deal." So we get to the mound, to the plate meeting, and they're playing, UCF's playing Michigan. Well, skippers are out there and turns around and they give Joe the line of cards. And Joe looks at his eye, gets really big. He says, Michigan coach says, "Okay, I remember I got a PDH in the 6th hole here." And Joe looks at me, "Okay. Relax, everything's good." So coaches go back to the dugouts, and I said, "Joe, let me see that." So he hands me the line card. I went, "Don't worry about it, Joe. We get through it." There's another one, but we'll just leave it for another day. Laura, glad you could come. Jim was always really special. Don't you do it?
You started it.
Jim was really special. And Jim was always a lifesaver. Jim, had his own business and everything, and he could leave at any time. His daughters really wanted him to leave, but they come, "Can you give him a game? Can you give him a game?" So one day I call him, and there was a guy called in for the Palm Bay game and said he wasn't going to be able to make it. So what I do, I get on the list. Called Jim Thompson. I know he'll work it. So called Jim. Well, halfway up to Palm Bay, I get a text message back before cell phones that they were canceling the game. So I text to Jim and said, cancel the game, have a nice trip. Well, 2 days later, I got a postcard in the mail. We were down at the beach and it was sunny out. I don't know why they canceled the game, but I need some money for some more copper tone. I think it's enough. I want to keep you people here. Thanks for coming, really do. You all meant so much in my life. Thanks.
To induct and read the bio of Jim Thompson, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the podium President Steve Muzzy.
Thank you, Alan. I'm truly not worthy of being the person to introduce Laura to talk about her dad, but as you can tell from the stories of these inductees, that Jim Thompson meant a lot to this organization. He was a founder of the organization. I've been a basketball official, save 1 year in baseball, but I also had the experience of working with your dad, and I remember not only was he a great referee, but it was just his attitude. I mean, and the words kind and humble come to me, but just funny, helpful, and really, it's almost as if there should be the Hall of Fame, and then there's the Hall of Fame, and your dad belongs in a special elite Hall of Fame of Hall of Fames, and you can see what he's meant to these great men, and so it's just amazing. And I do. John Scarpino, who was a past president, and myself, we wrote a tribute, and I just will say a few things. On February 12th, one of the greatest officials in the history of the Mid-Coast officials passed away in Vero Beach, Florida. We may have some of these facts wrong. I hope you can clean this up, Laura. But Jim had a 48-year career with the Florida High School Athletics Association from 1956 to 2016. During that time, he worked countless playoff games in the sports of baseball, basketball, football, and softball. Jim worked 9 baseball state finals, 12 basketball finals, 6 football finals, and 1 softball final. Jim was also instrumental in the founding of the NCOA, along with 2 other officials associations in the Central Florida region. His involvement extended beyond the Central Florida area to the national level. He served as president of the NFIOA and served on the National Federation of High School Baseball Rules Committee for 6 years. Just incredible. I mean, he was also inducted into the National Federation Hall of Fame. But one of the things that we put here, beyond his impressive on-the-field accomplishments, is his impact off the field in the court that made the biggest impact of all to all of us. He's widely recognized by so many for the mentoring, support, and example he set as a sports official. He served with integrity, humility, and he always had a kind, encouraging word for the newest and most veteran officials. I love the story that Bob shared. Legend has it also that the MCOA Bear, seen in past logos, was a tribute to Jim. But on behalf of the entire MCOA, we mourn the loss of your dad. And I had a chance to talk to him, and he knew we were working on this, and I had a few good conversations with him. And we know he's in heaven now, but I'm sure he's very proud and happy that you're here. And thank you, Laura, for coming up to accept his award.
You started it. Well, to start with, I can't tell you how much this award would mean to my daddy. And I'm honored here to receive it on his behalf. And another thing I want to tell you is I sat here, something dawned on me. You all are the reason I never saw my dad growing up. Part of the reason, right? I mean, I can remember him coming home from hot, sweaty, stinky, in one uniform, changing clothes, going out to do another game, and coming home and doing another one later that night. He was like a fireman. He had all of his uniforms lined up for the day and stuff. But it absolutely meant the world to him. It just was such a huge part of his life. He really did it for over 60 years because he started way back when with Little League. And the neat thing about it was my mom was real involved and very supportive in it. And so one thing that she liked about the fact that Daddy did all of the games is the fact that he gave her the check for every game. I can remember the little magnet on the refrigerator and seeing Daddy walking in the door from a game, taking that check out of his pocket and poking it up there on the freezer, on the refrigerator, because she was going to get it. And another thing that she ended up doing, I guess partially so she'd be able to see him sometime, was she became a clock operator. And it was really neat when they would be able to do games together. And I always thought she was real savvy because, you know, she'd get paid for doing that. And so she would take her check and put it up there, but she would still expect Daddy to put his check up there. She didn't let him slide on that. I don't know if y'all know, but my mom passed away recently too, so we haven't had a stellar 2022. I said it's because they wanted to be together, and we have a lot of peace from that. But we've been going through their house, getting it ready to put on the market, and I've come across a lot of articles about Daddy that have been so interesting to read. And almost every one of them, he's quoted as saying of how much he absolutely loved what he did. He enjoyed it so much. He enjoyed the players, the coaches, the fans, the sportsmanship, but more importantly, he enjoyed the friendships that he developed. And I've heard him talk about that for years. And I know when he passed away, we didn't realize just how many friends he had in the associations that went back for so very long, because once you were a friend of my dad's, you were a friend of my dad's. And he kept up with people and kept in touch and wanted to know what was going on and what he could do to help. But so I realized then just how his tentacles went all over the place with so many different people, and so much of it was related to sports and all different sports. He also, in one of the articles I read, he mentioned a few of the games that were significant to him. And the ones that he said during that article was a state semifinal baseball game that went into 7 overtimes. A Class 1A state championship game where the score was 6-3 on 3 field goals. A state championship baseball game where the score was 17-16, the most runs ever scored in a state championship. He said it seemed like it lasted forever and ever. The year the Major League umpires went on strike and he was behind the plate for the Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves on national TV, he enjoyed that. A game in West Palm Beach where a cinder block hit the top of his car, so it wasn't always rosy, and I'm sure y'all can relate to that. But he also, those were significant games and big deals and all. But he also said that he considered the game of the moment is the most important game. He was quoted as saying, "I've heard officials ask who gets the big game. But as far as I'm concerned, they're all big, especially to the players and the coaches." And I think something that really points that out, his very first game that he did for a high school game was in 1953. He drove from Lake Wales from Vero Beach to Lake Wales to do a JV game. You know, he probably got $8 or something back then, and a few cents for mileage and everything. But I'll guarantee in his mind that game was as important to him as any game in his career, because he really believed that. He said when he got out on the field, he didn't know who was playing. He said, because you get out there and you do what you're supposed to do. And one of the best feelings in the world to him was to be in a situation where he had a call to make, and he was in a game where the call was going to make a big difference, and that he was in position at the right angle to be able to make the right call. And he talked about how good that felt to know that you made the right decision. There's a couple of stories that I want to tell you. I need to tell you this. We buried Daddy in his uniform. And I think I probably need to apologize to God because we put a yellow flag in there. You know he's been using that. He used to talk about, he said, no, when I die, I want y'all to do something different for my funeral. And he said, I mean this. He said, I don't want it to be all sad and weepy. He said, I want it to be a celebration. He said, I want y'all to bury me in my uniform. I want my sports officiating friends to be my pallbearers. I want y'all to roll me down the church. I want the officials to be blowing their whistles and throwing their yellow flags. And I want y'all to put me in the casket like that, so when everybody looks in there at me, they'll say, God, doesn't he look natural? But another thing is, I just can't stress how much he loved what he did. And when he got to the point where his knees wouldn't let him do what he wanted to do, it was really, really hard because he just loved it so very much. And he made the decision to stop. He said, I want to make the decision to be the one to stop. I don't want to be asked to stop. But it was a very difficult time for him because he loved it so much. He loved the camaraderie. But he remained involved in a lot of different ways. Whenever there'd be a game at Vero High, he'd take snacks over or meals for the teams that were playing it all. So he just got so much pleasure out of it and all of the friendships that he developed. But it was such a part of his life, and he loved it so much. And it reminds me of the time when Mother wanted him to go to an event, and she said, I don't even know what the event was. She said, but I want, Jim, will you go with me? Boom, just like that. He said, I can't go, I've got a game. And she said, Jim, honestly, sometimes I think you love football, baseball, and basketball more than you love me. After a long pause, he said, well, I love you more than I love volleyball. So I want to tell you where it was and all that kind of, can't you just hear him saying that? So anyway, congratulations to all the inductees, and thank you for letting us be a part of this very special night.
Well, this has been an extremely awesome night. And I think the one thing I want to take from tonight is the passion. And Steve, you and I, come on up because you're going to be closing this out, is the passion. Counting the years of service just from our inductees tonight, unofficially, 198 years of service. Think about that for a moment. So, what we're going to do is we need to bring up the inductees, please. Mike Pressman, Bob Mcginnis, Bob Walton, and Fred Reese. And then I'm going to turn it over to Steve.
All right. So what we want to present these guys.
In order. Backwards.
So we have some shirts with their name indicating that they are Hall of Fame members. So we want to kind of get a picture of you all. Maybe along here. I don't know what the right time to do that, right place to do that. But let's see. Let's give out the shirts, and hopefully next year you guys are wearing these shirts at the second Hall of Fame ceremony. There you go. Walton and Fred, Mr. Mcginnis.
Why am I always Mr.?
Jim Thompson. Okay. All right, so let us get a group picture of you guys. Let's go ahead and do it over here, please. And then we'll have one final thing to do once we get done with this. All right. Hold on, I gotta get this camera.
They just put their shirts on. No, we don't.
Okay. Alan, great job. Bonita, great job. I think this thing has really exceeded expectations. We thank everybody for being here. We have, looks like we have some final business to do. It is Dave Mcginnis' birthday.
Yeah!
And it's also another official, John Holland, his birthday today. So we're going to sing happy birthday, and we're going to make sure everybody gets some cake and dessert. So, Dave, John, here we go. Happy birthday to you, Mom. Happy birthday to you, Mom. Happy birthday, dear Father John. Happy birthday to you, Mom.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
All right, everybody, let's get some cake. Good night. We wanted to make sure this